Welcome in, one and all. Welcome into another edition of the Cory Sanning Show, a belated another edition of the Cory Sanning Show. Thank you for those who stuck out the wait. Obviously, not the consistency we wanted in week 2 of the show after the show's premiere, but we're getting back to it. Been sick a little bit, wasn't feeling very well. Excuse me. And as I say this, my cats are already going through the house, going crazy. Stop scratching stuff. I swear, you all are supposed to see the best of me on camera, but unfortunately, due to these two gremlins, you see the worst of me most times. So if you just bear with me. But otherwise, thank you for tuning in, you all. We've reached 20 subscribers on the channel now, which is not much, but thank you all for supporting the show, sharing it, tuning in, commenting, liking, trolling. I know I'm going to get to a few troll comments today that I'm sure are going to be very, very, very much warranted considering the topics for today. But boy, have we got a loaded show, or have I got a loaded show for you. Going to be getting into some NBA Finals, Game 3, reacting to Chris Sims releasing his 2025 QB rankings. Pretty happy about those, but we'll get into that here in just a minute. And then we're also going to go through Bleacher Report's top 10 NBA Finals single game performances since 2015, which I've been looking forward to do. I was hoping to do this on Monday, but as we well know, I was not live Monday. Had some other issues going on. And before we get into the content today, though, today's sponsor, as you can tell by my shirt, is Clean Eats. Clean Eats makes your meal prep easy, affordable, and all you have to do is pop it in the microwave for 90 seconds, and you have a clean meal packed with protein, low in calories, getting you all the nutrients you need. This right here is one of my personal favorites. It's the steak and egg hibachi. You got your brown rice, got your – stop it! Right in the middle of my advertisement. Can y'all believe this? Even though I don't have anyone currently tuning in live, when you see this later, you're going to laugh at it. Brown rice, scrambled eggs, lean steak, topped off with a little bit of onions, make it a little bit of crunch in there. Clean Eats. It's not a diet; it's a lifestyle. Anyway, stop by any one of their locations if you're in the Knoxville area. Got one in Maryville, got one in Bearden, got one in Farragut. Bearden is my personal favorite, even though we did get through just doing some renovations to the Farragut location. But Emily is my favorite, of course, and she's obviously the reason that I have this relationship with Clean Eats. So shout out to you, Emily. I know we talked the other day. You still have not subscribed to the show yet and followed it on Instagram, so I'm holding you to it live on the air. So with that being said, you all, we're going to go ahead and get into the first topic of today. And the first topic isn't really one that was listed, but Green Bay Packers released Jair Alexander after 2 injury-plagued seasons. Obviously, he was coming out. He was one of the league's best defensive backs and was paid like it prior to the past 2 years. But the best availability is availability. And as you all know, I'm a Ravens fan. So obviously, I'm going to sit here and react to this in a much more different light than most of you. Obviously, Jair and Lamar have Louisville ties. Obviously, they're very close. They're very good friends. Tell them to slide to the Ravens. I couldn't really agree more with that, to be completely honest. Jermaine Pratt was released by the Bengals. I was hopeful that the Ravens may actually make a move to sign him just because they need linebacker help. And he signed for just under $5 million. I think they could have afforded that for at least 1 year to test him out on a prove-it deal. He was the Bengals' leading tackler last year, and he also has a knack for making big plays late in games. He actually did that in the Bengals' first playoff win in more than 30 years. But Jair Alexander, best availability is availability. Perfect opportunity to slide to the Ravens, come in on a prove-it year, sign a small contract, and we'll see what happens. Marlon Humphrey was on the back end, it seemed like, of his career until he had another first-team All-Pro season last year. The Ravens secondary needs all the help it can get, even though it did just draft Malachi Starks, but Ardarius Washington obviously is lost likely for the season with an Achilles injury. He was obviously a big part of that defense's turnaround later in the season last year. So would I be – you don't really hear about much when it comes to the Ravens, you don't – usually when they make free agent signings, you don't really hear a lot at first, a lot of media coverage because they're a very low-key organization. They keep everything in-house. That's why – my friend and actually my brother and I, my friend Christian and my brother Cody and I, we've actually gotten frustrated with John Harbaugh's BS answers to the media over the years because it keeps us fans in the dark. But At the end of the day, would I be surprised if the Ravens moved on this? No. I mean, it's a low risk, high reward situation because the talent is there. No one's questioning that. Just this ability to stay on the field. And I think that's why the Packers on their come up thought, it's best if we just move on from this one. But Lamar obviously showing interest here. In fact, I don't even remember when this tweet was from. It may be a few years old, but obviously I just wanted to bring it up since Jair was actually just released by the Packers. But that moves us on to the first topic of today's show. Chris Sims releasing his 2025 quarterback ranking list, and this is what we have to deal with. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and take the banner off the bottom. Number 10, we have Jalen Hurts. Shocking, given the way the season just ended. Number 9, we have Baker Mayfield. It's been pretty solid. Number 8, Justin Herbert. We'll get into that in just a second because I don't agree with that whatsoever. Number 7, C.J. Stroud. 6, Matt Stafford. 5, Jaden Daniels. 4, Patrick Mahomes. We'll discuss that in a second. 3, Joe Burrow. 2, Josh Allen. 1, Lamar Jackson. As you all know, I'm a Ravens fan. Have been for a very long time. I bleed black and purple if you slice me open, aside from Tennessee Volunteer Orange, but, we're not talking about college right now. Did Chris Sims get it right? We've been talking about this since this list was released. Did Chris Sims get this right? And to be completely honest with you, it's a double-edged sword because Lamar Jackson's been the best quarterback in the NFL for the past 2 seasons. By far. No one's come even close. Should have back-to-back MVPs. We obviously redefined voting for the award last year, and it's the reason he didn't get it. It was the first time that a first-team All-Pro quarterback didn't get the MVP since 1987 when Joe Montana was first-team All-Pro because clearly he was the best quarterback in football at the time. But John Elway won MVP. That's basically what happened this year. Is Josh Allen got his sympathy MVP, and at the end of the day, it's in the past now, but I'm never going to live that down. I'm sorry. There's one quarterback in NFL history, one who's thrown for more than 40 touchdowns in less than 5, not 5 or less than 5 interceptions. And guess what that list is? Lamar Jackson, and that's it. Not even Aaron Rodgers, the talented Aaron Rodgers. By far one of probably top 2 in terms of arm talent and physical gifts at the quarterback position. Not even he put together a regular season like that. But yet these 9 voters who voted Lamar Jackson first team All-Pro switched their vote because they went to the AP and they're like, how do we vote on this? We want to find any way possible to gift wrap something to Josh Allen because for some reason the NFL loves gift wrapping things to Josh Allen. You have the 2018 AFC title game, Patriots at the Chiefs. The Patriots get the ball first in overtime, and they win on a game-winning drive. Chiefs put in a request to change that rule. It's denied. But guess what happens the next year, the 13-second game? And then the NFL's like, yeah, we'll reevaluate this. Man, Josh played so good. And people are still living on this game from 3 or 4 years ago now to validate, Josh Allen's just that much better than Lamar Jackson. Sorry, not buying it. But at the end of the day, it did it again this year. They even, we're going to go to a digital measuring system because Josh Allen clearly got that first down when he didn't get that first down. It was obvious to those who actually know the game. But yet the NFL's changing another rule. And then they redefine the way that the MVP is voted on. So Josh Allen, like Tony Romo said, you feel bad he doesn't have one. No, you don't. This is professional sports. This isn't peewee soccer where nobody wins. It's all about having fun. This is the NFL. You're paid millions of dollars and you're watched by millions of people every weekend to do this at a high level. And this was a tangent I was not supposed to get on, but I feel motivated to get on it because it needs to be said. The only people that have seemed to grasp this concept is Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. Heaven forbid. I love Mike, but some of his takes are, And not my friends, but, some of my contemporaries at The Vault, which is a Ravens podcast covering the Ravens, and it is very entertaining, and Bobby and Sarah do a fantastic job with that, and I actually tune in every day. Just a little shuttle plug there. But Lamar Jackson last season, let's get into some of the games he had. These are just a snapshot of it. On the road, against Cincinnati with the worst passing defense in the NFL, worst secondary in the NFL. They were 32 heading into this game at Cincinnati. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins was back. Mike Gesicki's no slouch at tight end, and then Joe Burrow is probably the best pure passer of the football in the league. And Lamar Jackson goes 348 passing yards and 4 touchdowns and no interceptions to lead the Ravens back on the road in a hostile environment, and had the iconic play where he pushed Sam Hubbard, who's no slouch, off of him not once, but twice, and then somehow throws a cross-body touchdown pass to Isaiah Likely. Not one quarterback in the NFL could make that play aside from him, including Patrick Mahomes, including Josh Allen. But let's keep on going. Let's keep on going now. Okay, so the next game I'm going to get into is the game against Cleveland. This was October 27th at Cleveland. They actually lost that game because Eddie Jackson and Marcus Williams were starting at safety, and it was perhaps the most dropped interceptions I've ever seen in one game. Heaven forbid, Kyle Hamilton, I'm sorry, I love you, but you dropped the game winner, and best safety in the NFL, but he couldn't hold on to the ball. 289, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions is the only reason the Ravens were in the game. Derrick Henry didn't have a good game that day. But let's keep on going. Denver Broncos, at the time, were a top 5 defense, came into Baltimore on a hot streak. Some analysts even picked the Broncos to upset the Ravens. 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Derrick Henry did his thing, and the Ravens win going away. Let's go to the game at Tampa Bay, where the Ravens were actually down 10-0 in the second quarter on the road in a hostile environment. Ain't nothing but a thing. You got number 8 at quarterback, 281 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Let's go to the Giants game, 295 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, we don't really need to discuss that one because clearly there was a disparity in talent there. Both Bengals games, I mean, he was perfect when they needed him to be. Honestly, Chris Sims got it right from a statistical standpoint. Now, if you want to look at it and be like, okay, Lamar didn't live up to the hype in the playoffs. Okay, he had the fumble and the interception in the first half. He played damn near perfect in the second half, and that was the only reason that the Ravens even were able to claw their way back, aside from Derrick Henry running the ball down the Bills' throats, which he runs the ball down everyone's throat. So are we really surprised at that? No, but at the end, but I think he got it right. I would have put, I'll be completely honest, I would have put Mahomes at 2. I would have put Allen 3, Burrow 4, because 2 years in a row when you haven't made the playoffs and you had one of your best seasons ever. I mean, I'm not really sure what else we can say there. And then as I say that, I'm getting a phone call by someone who just hung up because she knows that she's not supposed to be calling me while I'm doing this show. So thank you, Savannah. I appreciate that. Love you, though. Where was I? Lord have mercy. She made me forget my thoughts. This is why mental health awareness month is so important, because females they can distract us. They're beautiful. We're going to get into that another day. I'm not even going to get into that. But is it fair? Yeah, I think it is fair. I would have put Mahomes higher. Of course it's fair. He's been the best quarterback the last 2 seasons. They just haven't won the Super Bowl, which is, I mean, if you're a fan from the surface, and I'm actually going to go ahead and check my text messages right now. She is safe and she's on her way home and she's getting gas. So actually, I am very glad that she let me know that. But yeah, it is fair. You're lying if you say otherwise. If you watch the tape objectively, the last 2 seasons, no quarterback's been better than Lamar. You could sit there and say Josh Allen, all you want, but ultimately, what has that led to? And I can say the same for the Ravens, and that's me being a Ravens supporter. But we'll see. We'll see, because it ain't over till the fat lady's singing. And that's all I have to say about that. So we're going to go ahead and get into some viewer comments. O'Connor says first, and SRT Outlaw says facts. Well, so I guess I'll give you a little bit of shout out for being first, O'Connor, but I'm kind of disappointed that I don't have as many people tuning in today, because the next topic is going to actually be pretty fun. But, Bleacher Report actually put out its list of the 10 best single game NBA Finals performances since 2015. Obviously, that's what we're about to react to. I can't say there's a lot of disagreement here, but it's going to be fun to reflect, given the fact that we're nearly approaching the dog days of sports and we won't really have much to talk about for a while. But we're going to react to the best single game NBA Finals performances since 2015. Now, as you know, as most of the people that know my brother and I know, that we've been probably the biggest NBA fans in this community for the past 10, 15 years. Obviously, as many of you know, I do live in Knoxville, East Tennessee. It's very big college football, basketball, and baseball. The college sports everything town. And I love it because I love the culture that they built. But at the same time, I think pro sports is a better product. And we're about to get into this right now. So we're going to start. Obviously, we got some honorable mentions. And the honorable mentions are not too bad. Kawhi, 36-12, 4 steals at Golden State in Game 4 in 2019. Do I think that the Warriors would have won easily if Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson both stayed healthy that series? Yes. I think everyone with a brainstem thinks that. But this was the time that this was the game that the Raptors gained full control of that series, and we knew it was probably more than likely a foregone conclusion that they were going to win because they went up 3-1. And obviously, when you don't have Kevin Durant and then Klay Thompson unexpectedly tears his ACL, you're not really going to get far if you're just Steph Curry by yourself with Draymond Green. I mean, Draymond Green's not that as a scorer. But then we're going to go on. Steph Curry, 47-8, 7 against Toronto in Game 3, 2019, again, without Kevin Durant. Same series we're talking about. I mean, it was a Herculean effort from a small man, but at the same time, we all knew that it probably wasn't going to end in the result that Golden State wasn't going to three-peat. I mean, that was impressive. He did everything he could, but guess what? Still, at home, the Warriors lost by more than 10 points. So, Herculean, yes. Did it impact the game score? No. And then the next one is a very painful memory of mine. I still remember it vividly. Nikola Jokic is 27, 14, and 10 triple-double against the Heat in Game 1 of the 2023 NBA Finals. Going in, the Nuggets were the heavy favorite, and understandably so. The Heat were an 8 seed that just caught fire that postseason and somehow made the NBA Finals. I still, to this day, can't quite compute how that actually happened, but it happened. But then Nikola Jokic happened, much like he happened to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, when I thought maybe this time we get a Lakers Heat Finals and maybe we exact some revenge. No, the Joker and Jamal Murray said none of that. And obviously they went on to win the championship. Credit to them. And then it's honestly surprising that these are honorable mentions. Draymond's Game 7 against the Cavs, 32-15-9. He hit 5 threes. I mean, he was awesome in that game. Granted, it was stupid that he got himself suspended for Game 5, which we'll go back and forth about that, but I don't think that would have changed the outcome of the series. It's not like Draymond Green carried them. I mean, he's a great floor general. He's a great glue guy, especially at that time. But yeah, Game 7 is a great shout out. And then you got Giannis in the 2021 NBA Finals, Game 3, when Milwaukee was down 0-2, going back home. They needed to win this game, 41-13-6. And I mean, the rest is history. He put it. Well, we'll get to the rest of history here because I've read this list. You all haven't. But we're going to get into the first one. Steph Curry, Game 4 at the Celtics. He had 43, 10, and 4. And I remember watching this game because I remember being so pissed off that the Celtics somehow beat the Heat that year. That were the 1 seed at home in a Game 7. Obviously, we get our revenge the next year. But that was the year where I really thought the Heat, if they made the finals, had a legit shot at winning the championship because they were that good. And they unfortunately got injured. Jimmy Butler seems to always get injured at the end of a playoff run after he starts phenomenal every time. We won't get into that because I still love Jimmy. I'm unlike the majority Heat Nation out there. I can't really blame him. We didn't get him that much help, but at the same time, I wouldn't have paid him that much money at that age either. Steph was incredible this game. Those big threes he hit in the fourth. I mean, the Celtics were ahead a majority of this game, unless I'm misremembering, which I don't believe I am. And Steph with those threes in the clutch after all the pressure on him to win a Finals MVP after he should have won it in 2015. I'm sorry. How does a guy that holds the second best player of all time, and it's not by that big of a margin, MJ fans, to 36, 13, and 9, but yet you're the Finals MVP. I still don't get that. Steph had better numbers, but this game was really, really, really what gave Golden State the chance to finally get him over that hump, because that fourth championship was ultimately about him doing it without Kevin Durant and him finally being Finals MVP, even though he should have been in 2015. So Steph Curry game 4, I totally agree with that. Number 9, this one might be surprising on your list. They list LeBron's game 1 at the Warriors in 2018 as number 9. If you all remember that game, you remember LeBron dropped 50, 51, 8, stealing a block in a game where the Cavs were massively outmanned. The series when the Cavs were massively outmanned. And the only reason they were in that finals was because they had that guy. And he put on a show. His jumper was wet from all angles, from all distances. And for some reason, for the first time in the time I'd ever watched the NBA, they overturned a charge call, which I thought was more of a charge than a block, to a block, and gave Golden State points and Kevin Durant an extra free throw when the Cavs would have probably salted the game away. And then J.R. Smith lost his mind. I don't think they would have won the series because they were that outmanned, and that was the best team ever, that core. But man, LeBron was awesome to watch in that game. He really was. And I'm surprised that when I first initially read this, I was surprised that this came in at number 9. But in hindsight, it didn't really impact the series that much because the Cavs got swept and the rest is history. LeBron's now a Laker. That's why we're going to move on to number 8. And number 8 is another painful memory for me, as you see. Nikola Jokic, game 3 at the Heat 2012. Going back to my glory days, 2023 finals, 32, 21, 10, and 2 blocks. What can you say about that? Nobody had ever recorded a 30, 20, and 10 game in an NBA Finals game, and he happened to do it after the Nuggets had dropped game 2 at home, after it seemed like maybe the Heat actually have a chance. Joker said, nah, hold my beer, which, as we know from the European players from Luka, that's typically what they do. Said, hold my beer, and the rest is history. The Heat never had a chance. It was obvious the last 3 games, even though 2 of them were in Miami, the Nuggets controlled the momentum, and we really don't need to get into the rest because it'll make me very sad. This one makes me sort of happy, though. 7, we're going Jimmy Butler, his game 5 performance against the Lakers. You'll remember that's the famous tired meme, dropped 35, 12, 11, had 5 steals and a block to keep Miami's season alive in the bubble. The genesis of this game, like the first line of this article says, is the exhausted Jimmy Butler meme. It was no laughing matter, though, like the article says. He only sat 48 seconds of that game. That's why he had to catch his breath like that. And he went toe to toe, shot for shot with the second greatest player ever down the stretch. And actually made Heat fans think, man, maybe we actually have a chance. It was a very, very small portion of us that actually believed that. I didn't believe that, but it was inspiring. It really was, because honestly, with Dragic and Adebayo being limited that series, it really was Jimmy against the world. And that's why it's another reason why it's hard for me to really, look back on the Jimmy era as a complete failure, even though, I would have liked a championship out of it. Number 6, Kyrie Irving, game 5 at the Warriors in 2016, which I think is the greatest finals ever. I would love to say 2013 is there too, but 3-1 comeback. This game was a big reason. 41 points on 17 of 24 shooting, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. Where you'd be like, oh, he only had 6 assists. Well, him and LeBron, when you and your co-star score 41 apiece, you don't really need to pass the ball much. And 6 assists is impressive given the fact that he and LeBron scored the vast majority of their points that game. What can you say? The shot making was incredible. They came in on a hostile environment in Oracle Arena, which was the loudest probably in the NBA at the time because Oklahoma City had dropped off. And they won a game that nobody expected them to win. Klay Thompson was outstanding in that game. Steph Curry, not as much, but it was one home closeout opportunity the Warriors had that they blew. And Kyrie in that game was sensational, and he was fun to watch, I'll tell you that. because it was almost like, yeah, we're going to watch them have a little fun and they'll close it out in Cleveland in game 6, which we'll get to here in a second. No, that changed the whole series, which is why I completely agree with this being number 6. Number 5, we got Kevin Durant, game 3 at the Cavs in 2018. Deja vu, like the YouTube video says. He had 43, 13, 7 assists and a steal and a block, and he hit the deja vu shot, and he was the reason that the Cavs didn't win that game, just like he was in 2017, a year prior. Hit the shot that put the game out of reach. The rest is history. I mean, late in the second quarter, like the article says, the Warriors were trailing by double digits. I remember the game. I was like, yeah, if Cleveland's going to win one, they're at least going to win the first at home to make it seem like a series and then it'd be a gentleman's sweep. No, Katie said, hold my beer. I'm going to say that for the second time, and the rest is history. That's why you have, pardon me, my mouth's dry. So I have Skip Bayless saying, oh, yeah, back-to-back game 3s in LeBron's house. He shot it right in LeBron's face. This one really wasn't in LeBron's face because he wasn't on the floor or he wasn't guarding him, but we'll let him have his moment. Number 4, LeBron's game 5 at the Warriors in 2016. Obviously, I just mentioned he dropped 41, 16, and 7, 3 steals and 3 blocks. And it was just another Herculean effort. The Cavs needed it. What else can you say? I mean, it was peak LeBron. He may not have been first team all defense anymore, but he looked like it that night. And he made it. He took Clay's, I guess he got his feelings hurt comments seriously and personally for some of you Michael Jordan fans. That's why, him wearing power beats and sunglasses is one of the most recognizable NBA memes of all time now, because of his effort in this game. He was fantastic in the first quarter, and he never let up. And like I said, 3 steals and 3 blocks, that makes this performance that much more impressive. That's why I have no problem with it being ranked above Kyrie's, because when you finish a series leading the entire series in all statistical categories, I mean, you're pretty damn special. And this, I think, was obviously the best 3-game stretch of LeBron's career. Even going back to his Miami days when he was uber efficient, I think this was the defining moments. This was the start of the defining stretch of his career. But we're going to move on to number 3, and it's it's a good memory, even though I know the series didn't go after the way we wanted. But it's Jimmy's game 3 against the Lakers in 2020 in the bubble. 40, 13, 11, couple steals, couple blocks, a triple-double, 40 points, literally carried the Heat from beginning to end. They had already lost Gordon Dragic, who was their leading scorer points per game wise throughout that postseason. And obviously Bam Adebayo was limited as well. And they were overmatched anyway. Anyone who says otherwise is lying. But it was the only reason that Miami was even in that series was because of 2 fantastic performances from Jimmy. I knew as a Heat fan, I had a bunch of Lakers fans, in my friend group at the time, and I knew they were going to win. Common sense comes into play at some point, but overall, he literally did everything for the Heat that night. Just like he might not have produced the, famous, infamous tired meme of him keeling over the scorers table in the bubble. But at the end of the day, his game 3 performance was easily, he might have been injured in that 2023 finals, but some of his performances in that finals against probably a superior opponent in the Nuggets, they were inspiring. Going to the number 2, and that's Giannis. Game 6 against the Suns. Do I need to say anything about this? 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 2 assists. I watched this game as well, hoping that Chris Paul would finally get a championship. Clearly, they had collapsed as they were up 2-0, and they let the Bucks win the next 3. And they come back to Milwaukee for a closeout game 6, and Giannis is spectacular. Nothing was going to stop him that night. And it was, honestly, by the midway point of the second half, it was abundantly clear. He was the best player on the floor. Nobody could stop him. He was hitting every shot. He was even hitting free throws. And this is a guy that's famous for going to the free throw line and fans chanting 10, 9, 8, because he takes so long to shoot them. And it was the defining moment of his career so far. It's probably going to be the defining moment of his career in totality, because I just don't see anything that could really eclipse bringing Milwaukee their first championship in decades like that, and the emotional reaction that there was to it. But I have no issue with this ranking whatsoever. And we're going to get into number one. And I completely agree with this because I watched this game from beginning to end. LeBron's Game 6 against the Warriors in 2016. You had no doubt from the time it was 8-0 Cleveland, you had no doubt because that guy was on the attack and nobody was stopping him. 41, 11, 8, 4, and 3. He was first team all defense LeBron again. He was uber efficient shooting. He had half of his 6 3-point attempts that night. He scored, I believe it was 17 in the fourth quarter. And when Golden State somehow managed to make it close, he closed the door on them. I've never seen a game where a player was in control, aside from the 2012 Game 6 against the Celtics, which obviously can't be factored into this list because it wasn't in the NBA Finals and it was obviously in 2012. This list starts in 2015. But, man, he had a usage rate of over 35%. He was 16 of 27 from the floor. Remember the block at the end of the game when he's trash talking the unanimous MVP? And then he goes into the unanimous MVP's house in Game 7 and takes home the championship on his home floor. I mean, that's impressive. Whatever way you want to slice it. Maybe he's not the GOAT. Maybe he's not as good as Michael Jordan, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with having him as 1A, 1B, 2. People here are going to disagree and say, no, he's the GOAT, but sorry, I do not agree. We're going to read some more viewer comments. We only have one, so going to pull this up, and I'm going to destroy it because it's not the truth. LeBron doesn't touch Pete Kobe. Before I say this, my first tattoo is a memorial of Kobe Bryant. I love Kobe and everything he represents from motivation to discipline standpoint and what he was on the court. But if we're going to sit here and say that Kobe was a better all-time player than LeBron, then we're kidding ourselves. I have Kobe at number 9 all-time. LeBron's my number 2. And I don't think it's particularly close. Kobe never shot above 46% from the field in the season of his career, so he doesn't have the efficiency LeBron had. He's a better free throw shooter. Maybe you say, yeah, I trust him with the game on the line more than LeBron because of his ability to create a shot. But that didn't really lead to efficiency. I mean, he won one regular season MVP, but it's hard even for me to put Kobe above Shaq, his former running mate, in terms of all-time greatness, just because the efficiency just wasn't there. And that's to say, God rest Kobe's soul as I take a drink of my Fresca, because I don't sit here and lament anything he did because it was inspiring. But you're going to sit here and say that Kobe is better than LeBron all time. I just think you're insane. But we're going to move on to the NBA Finals. Thunder taking on the Pacers in Game 3 here in actually about less than an hour. It's 7:34 Eastern time right now. And we're going to dive into who wins. I mean, I picked Oklahoma City in 5 before the series started. I'm going down with the ship because I think Game 2 is indicative of what's going to happen the rest of the way. Tyrese Halliburton, as much as we'll get into him in a second, not a superstar player. And the Thunder clearly have the best player on the court, and they have the best defense that I've seen in my time watching basketball. And of course, some of you are going to laugh at that because it's probably been, you have been watching basketball longer than I've been alive, but statistically, they've been the best defensive team ever. You see what they did to Anthony Edwards, who's a superstar. Halliburton's not. Anthony Edwards is, and he struggled against this Thunder defense. First team all defense, Lou Dort. Wallace is a great defender. Alex Caruso is a great defender. SGA's no slouch on defense. Then you have your own version of the Twin Towers in Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. This is the best team in the NBA by far, and it showed in the regular season. They won almost 70 games. Think about that for a second. You know how hard it is to win that many games? And it was no fluke. SGA was the runaway MVP, even with Joker being arguably the best player in the NBA by far. And they're just showing it now of why we should never have doubted them, even after that game, that incredible shot by Halliburton at the end of Game 1. I love how people just take a 0.3 seconds is the only time the Pacers have been the better team in this series. 0.3 seconds. OKC dominated the vast majority of game one. They dominated in game two. SGA is scoring at will. Nobody can stop him. Who is equivalent to Shea? And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander plays the same position as Tyrese Halliburton, and they're not even on the same level. That's why it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. Indiana better hope it gets one game at home. Better hope they get one at home. Just one. Because if not, it's going to be a short series. And I already think it's going to be. And that leads us into, I know this is going to be a short prediction because I'm not really giving you much, but I think if you watched last game, you were definitely, you should know. You should have a good idea who the better team is. And it showed when it came into the series. We'll see what happens. Indiana, maybe he'll steal one, but I don't see it. They're nowhere near Oklahoma City. This Oklahoma City team is about to launch a dynasty. That's how good they are. And who knows who they'll get in the future. And who knows how good these players will become. Who knows how good Jalen Williams will become. Lou Dort, who's the perfect 3-and-D guy, first team all defense. That block at the end of game one, I believe it was on Nembhard or Neesmith. I can't remember, or maybe even Halliburton. Perfect technique, perfect form, and there was no chance that shot was going in. And he was the only line of defense from the basket between them, this offensive player in the basket, because clearly I can't remember who had the ball. I have to go look back at it. But that leads us into my next topic, which is Tyrese Halliburton a superstar? And I've already answered that question. Hell no. He's hit 5 of the clutchest shots we've ever seen, at least in the last 15 years in the playoffs. Aside from 2 games in the postseason, he's been average to below average outside of those shots. And the Indiana needs him to be aggressive to produce some offense against this Thunder defense. And he hasn't been. He had 5 points and 5 turnovers in that last game when it mattered. Then he goes on to score some points in garbage time after the Thunder already had it salted away. But yeah, people are still like, oh, Indiana's going to take game 3. What in these first 2 games of this series have made you possibly convinced of that? Honestly, they were lucky to beat the Knicks. They were lucky that the Knicks were so mentally weak down the stretch of game 1 and so coached by Tom Thibodeau that they even won. It should be, honestly, the Knicks against the Thunder in the finals getting their ass kicked, but fortunately it's Indiana because I don't really like Indiana fans, so, we'll see what happens. I guess I just showed some of my Heat bias because obviously not really liking the Pacers, we'll get into that in a few. But currently got a couple live conglomerates. Appreciate you all tuning in. That's pretty much it for the show for today. It's a short one just because I have to get ready to watch game 2 and react to that, obviously, on Friday. Seems like these games are going by so slow because they're not really playing much, but overall, who do you all have win tonight? You think Indiana's going to take the series? You think OKC is going to rout them like I think they will? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video on your way in if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. Click that bell button because notifications are more important now than anything. And obviously, be sure to follow the show on social media at the Cory Sanning Show on Instagram, at Cory Sanning Show on X/Twitter. And be sure to follow me on my personal social medias at Cory Sanning if you want to dive into my personal life, if you want to laugh at me a little bit more than you already do on this show. Be sure to follow. Obviously, we didn't have a lot of comments today, which I'm kind of disappointed in because that was a really, really good topic. But, I'll have a chance to call them out when they come to my house to watch the game here in a few. So appreciate you all tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See you on Friday. Be sure to tune in. Thanks for watching.